So, do you think our modern world should be more concerned with like figuring out the right question to answer, or more concerned with finding the answer to the question we theoretically already have? Like,
Which
do
is
we know the question we're trying to ask?
Whoa.
Oh, we're trying to answer. Sorry. Like, do we like when we're studying and we're doing our experiments and we're trying to solve problems? Do we know like the problem we're trying to solve, or are we sort of the blind leading the blind right now?
I think
we're the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't
we
think
really
anyone
know
knows
what
anything.
The question is.
What do you think are the right steps forward to figure out what question we need to ask or what question we need to answer, and like what do you, I guess do you have any guesses on what that should be?
On like what the question should be?
Yeah, like what should we be directing our energy to trying to figure out?
I think it's all about sustainability.
Okay.
I
think it's
that's
all
what
about,
we need to be
like,
figuring out.
What's going on in society, like cultural or like current events.
Okay.
All questions relate to that, really.
So it's and in what respect? Like current events, like trying to make sure everyone's on the same page, or trying to make sure no one's suffering as much as they
Yeah, I
like
think suffering.
more than they need to, I guess.
Like, yeah.
I think it's also about like moving forward. So I don't know, focusing more on what's happening and what's gonna happen rather than what has happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I heard Kamala Harris say something like that. Is that?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't need to get into the political, actually.
You can if you'd like.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can.
care.
I think if there's a debate coming up, it's the most important time to ask the right questions now more than ever.
Yeah. Okay, but do you think like the
election.
things that have happened in the past are relevant to the future, like in any very significant ways that should be attended to?
Yes, because we're growing from our past
Okay.
learnings.
So how should we go about that? How should we go about integrating what we know from the past as we move into the future? Is there a good answer to that question, or is it too vague?
Making change, but not. I don't know.
It's all you.
Can you ask the question
Yeah,
again?
repeat the
Yeah,
question.
it's a little bit of a vague question, so maybe we can flesh it out. But it's essentially like, how should we go about integrating what we know from the past? Like, essentially, in what lens should we view history to move forward most effectively?
It happened, so we see what worked, what didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, I
What
think
the
we need
people
to
liked.
learn from our past.
Did anything work?
Yeah.
Okay, what worked?
Ending slavery worked,
Okay.
but obviously that didn't create equality.
No, there's still a lot of.
So ending slavery worked to some degree. in
Well,
creating
yeah, there's
more-
not slaves.
Yeah,
in
that's a pretty
United
good step
States,
forward.
So that's a pretty good
Yeah.
step forward. That worked.
Yeah, that's pretty significant.
But it's also like that gets talked about every day.
Okay. Yeah.
So is that moving forward? I don't know.
Oh, so you think we're sort of dwelling on that, like we're not able to detach from
Yeah,
it?
which I understand because it was horrible, but
Okay. Do you think we fully understand the mechanism that allowed us to move away from something as horrific as slavery?
no, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't either. But I mean.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like the mechanism, like what society, how society was able to transform to move away from slavery, because it was true, like when Americans were horrifically doing slavery in a very sort of objectifying, like in some ways especially terrible way, but across the world there was other like slaves, there was other slavery happening. And so what was the mechanism that allowed America to move in the direction away from slavery? Like, do we understand that fully, do you think?
I think a lot of it was the people that just like protested against it. They had a lot of the political people.
Yeah.
Well,
that
and like
has
we were
an-
moving away from like colonization and fighting over land and stuff, so it was more about the people, less about land and things like that.
Okay.
Sorry, that's really, I'm like in
I feel like I don't
study
sound
class
very
right now, so
educated
I'm,
right
I'm trying
No,
to
it's
be
totally okay. I'm
chronological.
not trying to trap you, and like, I really don't think barely anyone's gonna watch this anyway. So it's more about
We'll
like
watch
maybe
it.
you can watch it back and then look at your answers. What would I have
Totally.
answered better, or maybe we can elaborate right now, and you'll be able to do that for yourself. But let's say, so there was protesting going on. There was people with the right idea that were protesting in a particular way as to make that idea spread. I think maybe Uncle Tom's Cabin, that book sort of was a ignition point to creating that understanding across the population.
Yeah.
That's part of it, I'm sure, like that sort of literary element, that understanding that these other people that we're enslaving aren't real people. So where did they get that idea from in order to spread it?
Like the idea of ending slavery.
Yeah. Like, was it just sort of just an innate idea that, because was it just like almost they had a strike of common sense, like, oh wait, this is a horrible thing we're doing, or like, was it, I don't know, how did that go about?
I think it was majority rules.
I think
Okay.
it was more like humanity and like out of human kindness. Like people just have a sense of right and
Sympathy.
wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, people know.
I don't know. What do you think?
Have like
Oh, what do I think? Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah, I think it had a lot to do with people really understanding the sentiment of every person having a intrinsic humanity to them that needs to be respected properly.
I agree.
And I mean, if we trace that back into history, I think it might have started with Jesus Christ, to be honest. I don't know. It, like, that sort of self-sacrificial love, and like, I don't mean to say that to make a religious claim per se, but it's hard to find that as potently anywhere farther back in history. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. What do you guys have anything to say about all that?
You make a good statement. I think it's a lot of like intrinsic humanity that really.
And
Yeah.
just like people setting
Shows,
examples
right, people
that
know right and
you
wrong.
can make change.
Yeah. Like that sort of understanding the humanity of the other through, and like either means of literature or maybe just a stark realization due to, like you said, like this sort of conscience that they had deep inside of them, you know?
Yes, consciousness.
Yeah, well, in that case, like conscience, like moral, like, oh man, this is wrong, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which is totally related to consciousness.
I agree.
Yeah.
It just became less about money and power. Also, like when, I don't know,
Yeah.
monarchies and emperors and things like that
Okay.
came to an end, it gave people more power and more hope to have power.
Yeah. So when monarchies came to an end and there was a sort of republic that was born, it made power less autocratic and less just top down, what the king says goes.
Yeah. Well, like once some people were able to have power, it was easier for others to imagine themselves having power and making change.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay,
Thanks for stopping
Thanks.
us.
thanks for participating.